USS Abraham Lincoln Aircraft Carrier Strike Group has entered the Middle East region.
Talked to them a lot. They should have made a deal before we hit them with the nuclear, because we really that was a devastating hit.
The USS Abraham Lincoln Aircraft Carrier Strike Group is now in the Middle East, according to the U.S. government, and any aggression will be met with full.
On January 18th, 12 F-15E Strike Eagles from the 494th Fighter Squadron at RAF Lake and Heath took off, traveling in the direction of the Middle East with the assistance of KC-35 Stratanker aerial refueling aircraft. Flight monitoring data indicates that the Pentagon is sending more air power into the area as tensions with Iran hit their greatest point since the deadly 12-day conflict in June of last year, during which American B-2 bombers attacked Iranian nuclear installations. An official photo of an F-15 Strike Eagle landing at a Middle Eastern facility was shared on social media on January 20th by U.S. Central Command, confirming the squadron's existence. The presence of the F-15 improves combat preparedness and fosters regional security and stability, but the timing and scale of the deployment presents an entirely different picture of Washington. Preparing. Tell everyone you know about this because, according to open-source intelligence experts, there were about 35 F-15 aircraft stationed at the Muwafaq Salti Air Base in eastern Jordan, along with a lot of cargo aircraft. It is not a typical deployment for significant offensive operations. That is a strike package positioning. Before we break down exactly what happened and why this matters so much, please make sure you subscribe to Daily Military Talks. We're bringing you the real analysis. In earlier military conflicts with Iran, the U.S. employed F-15ES. In April 2024, F-15 successfully repelled a large-scale Iranian drone and missile attack on Israel. Along with U.S. allies and F-16s, more than 80 drones were brought down by the F-15. The 494th Fighter Squadron, which just deployed into the Middle East, accounted for the majority of the American jets involved in that mission. The two-seat jets carry a pilot and a weapons system officer and used AIM-9 Sidewinder and AIM-120AM RAM guided missiles to take down drones in that combat. Several fighters even tried dropping laser-guided bombs on the drones, demonstrating how adaptable these aircraft are for both air-to-air and air-to-ground missions. The U.S. military acknowledged that the Air Force F-15E Strike Eagle is now present in the area in addition to the F-15s. Analysts who follow flight tracking data have noted numerous U.S. military cargo aircraft are also en route to the area. The activity is comparable to last year, when the U.S. relocated air defense equipment, including a Patriot missile system, in case Iran launched a reprisal after attacking 3 crucial nuclear installations. Consider the implications of that. Days after those strikes, Iran fired more than a dozen missiles at Al Udeid Air Base, demonstrating that it will undoubtedly react against U.S. sites should Trump issue new orders. The latest buildup suggests Washington is ready not just for strikes, but for the Iranian response that will certainly follow. Senior U.S. officials and flight monitoring data indicate that F-15 fighter jets arrived in Jordan on Sunday. U.S. Central Command openly confirmed on Tuesday the movement and released a photo of an F-15 arriving at one of its locations. Additionally, Britain has dispatched fighter jets to the area. Typhoon jets have been sent to Qatar as part of defensive preparations, according to the British Ministry of Defense. Reports of European military aircraft entering the area last week included British Typhoon fighters working with American forces. This is the unexpected twist, though. Numerous U.S. Air Force aircraft were seen leaving U.S. and U.K. bases and traveling eastward toward Middle Eastern deployment locations, according to flight tracking services. The aircraft involved are C-17 Globe, KC-135 Stratankers, and KC-46A Pegasus tankers. Special units and personnel equipment are usually transported using Master 3 and C-5M Galaxy transports. Applications for flight tracking recorded U.S. Air Force KC-135 aerial refueling aircraft traveling eastward over the Atlantic Ocean in the direction of the Middle East. The military news site The War Zone reported that C-7 transport aircraft were also sighted en route to the region during Operation Midnight Hammer last June, in which B-2 bombers targeted Iranian nuclear installations. Numerous aircraft that were refueling participated. The tankers refueled the fighter jets accompanying the bombers and allowed them to fly the approximately 18,000 kilometers round trip from their base in Missouri to Iran. The present increase of cargo planes and tankers implies the possibility of an impending large-scale operation of a similar nature. Senior U.S. officials told the Wall Street Journal that additional air defense systems would be deployed to the region, including Patriot and THAAD batteries. American officials informed the newspaper that the U.S. will have more offensive options thanks to the arrival of extra forces. After using a large amount of its interceptor arsenal during the conflict in June, Israel reportedly expressed concerns to Washington this week regarding its defense capabilities in the event of an Iranian attack. Accordingly, Israel requires American air defense systems not only to defend U.S. bases, but also to safeguard Israeli land from the huge Iranian retaliation that will ensue from any further assaults. 2 U.S. destroyers launched a precise strike in the Persian Gulf, and currently, 3 mines and air defense capabilities are in operation. Countermeasure ships, which would be vital in the event that Iran threatens to block the Hormuz Strait. The presence of the mine countermeasure ships is not coincidental. They're preparing for Iran to mine the strait and block off world oil supplies. The United States maintains a vast network of military installations throughout the Middle East. The most well-known is the U.S. Central Command's air base in Qatar. Some of the most cutting-edge U.S. fighter aircraft are stationed at Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates, while the 5th Fleet's headquarters are situated in Bahrain. There are other bases in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Jordan, and Turkey. In the event that Iran chooses to react against a U.S. strike, according to Reuters, an Iranian official stated last week that Tehran had informed nations in the region, including Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, that they would become acceptable targets for Iranian missiles if they hosted American assault planes. After that, things became even more hazardous. Tehran would see any U.S. attack as total war, according to a top Iranian official. This time we will treat any attack, limited, unlimited, surgical, kinetic, whatever they call it, as a total war against us, and we will respond in the harshest possible way, the official stated in an unnamed interview with Reuters. A significant change in Iranian propaganda may be seen in the statement. The idea of limited strikes or surgical procedures is expressly rejected by Tehran. Any military intervention by the United States will result in the strongest possible Iranian reaction throughout the region, aimed at all U.S. bases, ally facilities, and nearby oil installations. The arrival of the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln and 3 escorting destroyers in the Middle East raised the possibility that Trump would decide to launch airstrikes against Iran in retaliation for its crackdown on demonstrators. To support regional security and stability, the carrier and 3 destroyers are presently stationed in the Middle East. The aircraft carrier is home to several squadrons of aircraft, including F-35 Lightning II fighter fighters, according to U.S. Central Command, as well as the F/A-18 Super Hornet combat aircraft. In the meantime, the destroyers bring them hundreds of missiles, including dozens of Tomahawk land assault cruise missiles that could be fired from ships positioned safely in the Indian Ocean and strike targets deep into Iran. Lincoln's F-35s are equipped with sophisticated sensors and the ability to avoid radar. U.S. Air Force F-35s were employed to suppress Iranian air defenses and escort the 7B-2 Spirit bombers that participated in Operation Midnight Hammer. During the fight last summer, Israel also employed its own version of the aircraft, the F-35 IAD, to great effect in strikes throughout the region and to weaken Iranian capabilities. The F-15E strike in combination with an overwhelming strike package is produced by Eagles, F-35C stealth fighters, carrier-based F/A-18 Super Hornets, aerial refueling, and heavy transport aircraft. Heavy firepower and defensive counter-air are provided by the F-15E. Iranian radars and missile sites are suppressed by the F-35s as they breach air defenses. The Super Hornets use the carrier to deliver precise blows. The tankers enable all of them to run at maximum range. When intelligence experts examined the entirety of the forces being prepared, however, the true shock was revealed. It's more than just a strike package. This is the ability to switch regimes. Plans that would cause the Iranian regime to fall quickly have been requested by Trump. Sources claim that the administration's final plan of the U.S. has many more offensive options than a straightforward punitive assault thanks to the arrival of extra forces. Yet action is still up for debate. Consider the actual positioning of Washington. Numerous strike fighters, a full carrier air wing, cruise missile destroyers, heavy transport carrying THAAD and Patriot systems, and mine countermeasure ships. When you're getting ready to overthrow a country rather than merely bomb a few nuclear locations, you put together this force structure. Open-source intelligence sources indicated a major redeployment of U.S. Air Force aircraft into the Middle East, with dozens of air refueling tankers and heavy transport aircraft departing bases in the U.S. and U.K. There have been no formal remarks from the U.S. Department of Defense, but the scale and pace of the deployment says loudly. The deployment mimics activity witnessed before Operation Midnight Hammer, when the U.S. struck Iranian nuclear sites last June. However, the current buildup is more extensive, with British forces deploying alongside American assets, additional bases, and more coordinated partner participation. According to Iranian sources, the American buildup has made air defense systems more prepared. Iran is aware of the future. The only questions are when Trump issues the directive and the scope of the strikes. The Middle East is seeing an increase of U.S. fighter jets. Iran's air defense is extremely vigilant. Jordan was positioned by dozens of F-15E Strike Eagles. Typhoons from Britain were sent to Qatar. Carrier F-35C stealth jets are part of Air Wing. Tomahawk cruise missile-equipped destroyers, KC-135 tankers, and dozens of military cargo aircraft are on their way to the area. Globemaster C-5M, Pegasus C-17, and KC-46A. Personnel equipment is transported by Galaxy. THAAD and Patriot batteries are being used. The Persian Gulf is being positioned by mine countermeasure ships. Iranian officials cautioned that any attack would be considered a full-scale conflict. Tehran will react as harshly as he can. Rejected the idea of surgical procedures with restricted strikes. Iran responds as strongly as possible to every American onslaught. Iran stated that neighboring nations are valid targets since they host U.S. assault planes. Saudi Arabia United Arab Emirates sent a warning to the U.S. Central Command headquarters in Qatar, which is home to Al-Udeid Air Base. Bahrain is the host Fifth Fleet. Advanced fighters are hosted by UAE Al Afra. After employing interceptor stockpiles during the June War, Israel expressed concerns about its defense capability. American air defense systems are required to protect territory. Iranian reprisals. Both U.S. units are protected by Patriot THAAD batteries. Cities in Israel. 494th Fighter Squadron. In April 2024, the same team shot down 80 Iranian drones. Middle East is now in use. A track record of successfully combating Iranian threats. AIM-9 Sidewinder AM-120. Laser-guided bombs and RAM missiles. Strike group for the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier. The Indian Ocean. 3 destroyers. Hundreds of missiles. Numerous Tomahawks. F-35C Lightning II FA-18 Super Hornet squadrons. Thousands more soldiers. Trump requested plans for the quick overthrow of the Iranian government. This is more than a punitive strike. Regime alter the force structure, eliminate the government, and do more than just bomb. Nuclear locations. The financial markets are anxiously observing. Prices for oil are rising. Allied countries are calling for moderation. Iran is turning on all of its air defense systems. IRGC is on full alert. Hardened facilities were dispersed by missile troops. Everything points to the biggest military action in the Middle East since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Deterrence hinges on the Washington tyrants' decisions in the days ahead, regardless of whether Trump authorizes strikes or a buildup. American strike fighters were positioned close to Iranian objectives. Maximum operational reach is made possible by tankers. Defensive systems are delivered by transport aircraft. A Strait Hormuz closure scenario is being prepared by mine countermeasure ships. There is one thing that is certain. U.S. fighter aircraft are increasing in number, in quantities not seen since Operation Midnight Hammer, into the Middle East. Iran's air defense system is on maximum alert in anticipation of the devastating American hit that has the potential to completely alter the area. Everything will be decided